This is the Louie T Network.
Man, I love some football. My favorite week is week 1, cause I'm watching football. But first comes the preseason, and I don't take a day off. And then it gets even better when your team makes the playoffs. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing, that Super Bowl ring. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing, that Super Bowl ring. Yeah. We in the lab room.
Louie T, welcome. You are in the lab room. Of course, I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Divisional round weekend, International Football League, nightcap of the Saturday doubleheader features the #1 overall seed in the NFC conference, the Super Bowl defending champion Seattle Seahawks at home at CenturyLink, taking on the 4 seed Carolina Panthers. Very intriguing matchup. These two teams played each other in the regular season. Very close ball game. A very sloppy football game it was. Panthers weren't able to get it done at home. And so it begged the question, could they win against this Seattle team on the road despite having a defense that can go toe-to-toe with that Seahawks defense? Could they win on the road against a team that had beaten them 3 consecutive times at their stadium and not playing their best football? So that was the question that everyone had on their mind, and Vegas sent a loud statement with their number that they had with the 11-point deficit that they were giving up in this game. And so I think Panthers fans were definitely disrespected by that big number. But 11 and a half, whatever the deficit was, that didn't matter, okay? Vegas was begging people to bang that number. They wanted people to take that bet, and Vegas is usually right. I tell people this all the time. You can get outraged, you can be upset about what they put out there, but Vegas is usually right. And so they were begging for people to pound that number, and as you saw, what the end results ended up being, they were right again. But this isn't about that. What I was a little disappointed with, and this has nothing to do with the actual game itself, but the mindset of the Panthers coming into this game should have been one of us against the world. Nobody gave us a chance when we got into the postseason. They disrespected us because of our record and our division and how we got here. And we got a home playoff game and some teams and people around the league and even fans watching football might have been upset about us getting a home playoff game with our record. It should have been us against the world. This should have been an opportunity to galvanize this 53-man roster for one common goal. Look, no one else gives us a chance. No one believes in us. No one thinks we should be here. That should have been the rallying cry going into this game. And they should have been using that as fuel to not only show up and be competitive, but show up and win. And listening to Cam Newton in the press conference after the game, I didn't like the words that he was saying. You know why I didn't like what he was saying? Because it sounded like a team that was just happy to be here and that wanted to just be competitive. It didn't sound like a team that was poised to come in and shock the world and punch Goliath in the mouth. It didn't sound like a team that was willing to come in and do whatever it took to win, but just wanted to do whatever it took to be competitive. And that's not the message that I want to hear from my quarterback after we lose a game 31-17. But that's the message I took away from that press conference. Now, you may have heard something different, but that's the way I saw it. I felt like that's the way this team came out you look at the way they started this game. It was sloppy for Carolina. And the game was sloppy earlier in the season at Bank of America Stadium when these two teams met. And I thought that the Panthers came out and played more sloppy football. And we already said this was going to be a tough game. It was going to be a blood and guts affair. And you had to bring your hard hat. But if you're Carolina, you knew you couldn't make mistakes if you wanted to win. You needed to stay relatively clean to even have a shot, let alone making mistakes and thinking you're going to win. And that's what he did. Sloppy fumble on the very first play of the game. Now, they didn't lose the fumble. They were fortunate there. But that, to me, set the tone for the game. You cannot fumble on the first play from scrimmage. And that's what the Panthers did. Then you have a Cam interception to Richard Sherman. Now, Dick Sherman picked this one off. To me, this one wasn't a real big deal because it was third down. It was a situation where it's like a punt. I mean, I think it was a 40-yard pass down the field, and Dick Sherman picks it off, falls out of bounds. So really no harm, no foul there. You would love it if your punter kicked a 50-yard punt, a 53-yard punt, but 40-yard punt, interception that goes 40 yards and they don't get a return on it. The same difference. It was third down. They were going to have to punt from deep in their own territory. So that one I was able to brush it off. And the Seahawks weren't able to get any points from that interception anyhow. So to me, that one was, it didn't make a lot of difference to me, but you don't want to turn it over. That's the point. It's a psychological thing, and throwing an interception there, not in the best interest of your football team. So just a sloppy start. Then the backbreaker, you had, a near turnover. Then you did have the turnover on the Dick Sherman interception. Then you get a mix-up on read option, and I actually said that if you're the Panthers, you were going to get one opportunity in this game to force a turnover, and you had to take advantage of it. And I had actually mentioned that maybe Russell Wilson and Marshawn Lynch or Robert Turbin or someone in the backfield, whoever is in the backfield at the time, they may have a mix-up on read option where, Russell wants to keep it, the running back wants to keep it, it's late, they both let go, and the ball hits the ground. You got to take advantage. Well, that's what the Seahawks had an opportunity to take advantage of. The Panthers do read option. Cam has it. Jonathan Stewart has it. Cam at the last second reads the end and decides, I want to keep it. Jonathan Stewart saying, hey, let me have it. Next thing you know, the ball's on the ground. And Seahawks recover, and that was a monumental mistake. You had actually gotten through the first quarter despite the slow start with all the mistakes. Still 0-0. You're right there. And this mistake here had to cost you. You had to pay for this one. And so Seahawks able to get on the board first after the turnover. Russell Wilson with a beautiful pass on third down. All out blitz by the Panthers. They send the kitchen sink, and Russell Wilson senses that it's coming, anticipates the route run by Doug Baldwin on the play, beats the rookie corner on the play, Trey Boston, the safety, was in coverage on this play, and he never looked for the ball. He had no clue that it was coming. Great anticipation by Russell Wilson. Good catch by Baldwin. 7-0. You have the Seahawks taking an early lead in this football game as we head to the second quarter. Panthers respond with a gritty 14-play, 79-yard drive that eats up 8 minutes and 12 seconds of the game clock. And so that was a huge drive, spanning the end of the first into the second. This was a big drive because, to me, this game, you needed to respond because of the type of game that it was going to be. You never wanted to feel like you were on the outside looking in this game. You wanted to feel like you were right there in the action. I got a shot. You always, to me, to have a shot if you're Carolina, you want to be within one score at all times. You never wanted to be down by 10, down by 9, down by 12, 11, 13 points. You always wanted to keep it at a one-score game. At any point, we can either tie or take the lead in this game. And that's how I felt. So this next drive for me, now that the Panthers had given up a touchdown after the turnover, they needed to respond, and that they did with this beautiful, gritty, long, but very impactful drive that ends in a third down Kelvin Benjamin slant. I thought this was beautifully executed by the Panthers on third down. And look, when it's on, he transforms like Optimus Prime. Optimus Prime gets inside, and they were going to work. I knew they were going to work Tyrone Simon in this game. He had a rough game. They really went at Tyrone Simon the entire game. He struggled, but he held up. But they went to work on him, and I think that's something that I don't know how long your corner that is normally opposite of Richard Sherman, Byron Maxwell, is going to be out. But I tell you what, the Packers, last time they saw these Seahawks, they went away from Richard Sherman, and Maxwell stood up tall. I'll tell you what, I don't know moving forward if Tyrone Simon's going to be able to hold his own against whomever is over there with him. But I tell you what, he struggled in this game, and they took advantage of him on numerous occasions, including that touchdown from Cam to Kelvin Benjamin. It's knotted up at 7, and I thought that was a huge drive at that point in the game for the Panthers to respond to the Seahawks and get in the end zone and get 7. Seahawks answered quickly, however, with a 63-yard Jermaine Kearse touchdown on a catch and run. Beautifully thrown football by dangerous Russell Wilson. That was a beautiful throw, okay? But the catch was even better. Now, you could argue that it was pass interference on both sides, okay? Jermaine Kearse clearly got away with a push off. I'm talking about arm extended. It's locked out, okay? It's locked out. It was a full out extension on the pass interference by Jermaine Kearse. And you could argue that the reason he had to do that is because Bené Ben-Wickery was holding on for dear life, had no clue where the football was, and he was holding on. So you could have called it both ways. They let it go, which I thought was great. Let the guys play. I'm a big proponent of letting the players decide on the field what's going to dictate the outcome. And so I thought that was a huge play. And it gave the Seahawks back the momentum in this game at 14-7. And it also quick strike the Panthers, which had done a really good job of late of making teams earn everything that they were getting on the scoreboard. There weren't a lot of quick plays, a lot of big plays for touchdowns. You had to matriculate the ball down the field if you wanted to score on this Panthers defense. Well, this was a big play, and so that was something we hadn't seen from this Panthers defense of late since the changes on the defensive side of the football. It's now 14-7. Panthers grind their way back down the field. They get a face mask penalty on one of the defensive linemen for the Seahawks that helped them along on this drive. You have a near Optimus Prime touchdown in the back of the end zone. He beats Dick Sherman in the back of the end zone, but great recovery by Dick Sherman to push him out of the end zone and not allow him to get that second foot down. But it was a beautiful throw and an even better catch by Benjamin in the back of the end zone. But that was still incomplete. Then you have an Earl Thomas interception that, you had the 4th and 1 situation. The thing I hate about the Panthers offensive play call is that they're so predictable. I knew what was coming. Don't you think the Seahawks know what's coming? If me, a L.A. fan watching the game from afar, can tell you exactly. I was watching it with a couple of buddies of mine, and I said, I'm telling you right now. They asked me, what's coming? I said, look, man, I'm going to tell you right now, watching Panthers football, I can tell you what's coming. It's the Cam Newton quarterback draw. They're going to put Tolbert in the backfield, most likely, and they started out the play with Tolbert in the backfield. Cam calls for the football. He gets it, takes a false step back like he's dropping back, and he's taking off for the first down marker. And I knew it was coming. And you could argue that the Seahawks knew it and stopped him short of the first down. He was given a generous spot, in my estimation, got the first down. And so I actually told Ron Rivera, take the points. I said, take the points now. And I don't fault him for going for it. Again, if you're going to be Riverboat Ron, here's the time to do it. Playoffs, roll the dice, hope it comes up nice. And scare money, don't make money. All that good stuff. I'm not mad at him for going for it on 4th down, but this is a defensive-minded game to me. I want points. And if you get stopped here and you come away with nothing, that would have been more, dramatic than you getting a field goal. And so to me, if you don't come away with something on this possession, this is going to cripple your football team. I mean, you kind of got to weigh the pros and cons. And is it a big enough risk and reward here? Is the reward big enough to go for it here? Or is the risk that much greater? And to me, the risk was much greater than the reward, because if you get it, great. But you still might have to still settle for a field goal because you were running out of time late in the first half. You don't really think you're going to – I didn't think you were going to get in the end zone. You had a couple of near-miss opportunities, but I'm worried about Cam making a mistake and throwing a pick. I'm worried about you not getting your situation straight. Maybe you run out of timeouts, try to run a play, and then you get tackled in the field of play. A fumble, you've already fumbled like 2 times in this game. I'm worried about a number of things happening and you not getting points. So I'm like, hey, take the field goal, feel good about 14-10 at the half, and look forward to the second half. But he went for it. They got it though. but Cam makes the mistake that I was afraid of, and Earl Thomas picks him off, or so we thought. Earl gets clipped up on the play, and I don't think he expected to get clipped up by Kelvin Benjamin on that play, but I tell you what, he's got to put the football away. He was holding it with one hand, and then it just cradled it. It's an interception. He had it with one hand. He tried to brace his fall. He went down. The ball moved. All you had to do was put it away. But he didn't put it away. Incomplete pass. Panthers get new life, and they end up getting that field goal attempt. Now, this was the hardest field goal that I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, literally, the Panthers, and this field goal attempt to me was a microcosm of the Panthers season. The Panthers have had to work so hard for everything they've gotten this season. The fact that they won their division, they had to work so hard to win their division. They had to work so hard to even put themselves in the position to win the division. They had to work so hard just to get to the NFC divisional round of the postseason. And here they are working so hard for a measly 3 points. You had the Benjamin near touchdown. You had the near Earl Thomas interception. You had the 4th down. Did he get it? Didn't he get it? Then you have a situation where it takes 3 Graham Gano attempts to get it through. You have a first attempt that Cam Chancellor, and this guy was outstanding. We're going to talk about him a little bit later on in this game. But he jumps over the line, times it beautifully, and gets, I don't know how he doesn't block it. Graham Gano still kicks it, and he makes it. I don't know how Cam Chancellor doesn't block this. But it doesn't count because it's a false start on the Panthers. So they got to kick it again 5 yards back further. So then you have a situation where they kick it again. This time, Cam Chancellor does it again, times it up beautifully, gets over, and he actually deflects it, and it's shanked by Graham Gano. But because of a running into the kicker offense on Cam Chancellor, and he didn't get his hands. See, I thought he did. Everybody assumed he did because of the way the ball came out. He never touched the football, and so it was running into the kicker, Graham Gano. They get the 5 yards back that they had lost on the previous snap on false start. They get that back, and they get another chance to do it. This time, Cam Chancellor says, to hell with it. Just kick the field goal. They do. It goes in. And they go to the halftime breakdown for Panthers, get the field goal. It's 14-10 at the half, which is what I said they should have done at 4th and 1 like 3 minutes ago. But it is what it is. That's your halftime score. If you're Carolina, for as sloppy a football as you've played in the first half, you should feel good about where you are. I think the defense has done more than enough to put you in a position to try to win this game in the second half. Now you got to go out and execute as an offense and as a special teams unit. If you're the Seahawks, do feel like, look, these guys are way too close for comfort. We need to go out, turn up the defensive intensity in the second half, and we also need to score touchdowns and not settle for field goals in the second half when we do get opportunities to score. And so I thought that the Panthers came out as we go to the third quarter, came out with a stellar opening second half drive. The Seahawks got the football first. They're not able to do anything with it. Panthers get the ball deep in their own territory, and they start moving the football down the field. This was a nice methodical drive. I thought they had a little bit of a rhythm going. And then Cam takes a bad sack by Cliff Averill, loses 8 yards on a first down. You got to throw the football away. You're outside the pocket. I don't know if he knew Cliff Averill was coming or not, but it doesn't matter. You've got to have that instinct. You got to know somebody's coming. This is a fast defense. They flow from every direction possible. You've got to know someone's coming at all times, and you've got to keep your head on the swivel. He was looking down the field. Didn't feel Averill, I don't think. And luckily enough, he didn't fumble on the play, but he did take an 8-yard sack. He took him out of field goal range, and it forced them into a long yardage situation they never recovered from, and they ended up having to punt on a possession that was right there on the cusp of field goal range. I felt like they had rhythm, and I thought that's where the game started to semi-change right there, as they didn't get anything on that possession. And the third quarter was much of the same for both teams. A lot of defense, not a lot of offense. And so we go to the fourth quarter where the Seahawks start the scoring on the first play of the fourth quarter with a Stephen Hauschka field goal to make it 17-10. Had a nice little drive going at the end of the third, leaked into the fourth, had to settle for a field goal. So 17-10, Seahawks are on top. And I had asked this question to my buddy that I was watching the game with as we got midway through the third quarter. I said, are the Panthers going to score in this half? He's like, yeah, they're going to score some points, man. I said, are you sure? Are they going to score? And I said, I don't know about this, man. I don't know. But I told him, I said, look, Vegas is banking on the fact that this game is going to be close late, and then the Panthers are going to make a mistake that yields a Seahawks touchdown or a field goal late in the game that pushes this thing to double digits and helps them cover the spread. And he was like, man, whatever. He wasn't really trying to hear all of that stuff. I said, okay, I'm trying to tell you what's going to happen. That's what Vegas is banking on. And sure enough, we get to the stage where it's 17-10. And I thought the Panthers, I just talked about this earlier in the game, needing to stay close. You don't ever want to feel like you're outside of this game. You're outside of the limits of where you need to be. You want to be in the middle of this game. You want to be right there, and when opportunity presents itself, you strike. Beast Mode actually put it on the floor in the second half. Panthers weren't able to recover. I told you you're going to get one opportunity now. I said I thought it would be on the right arm or a fumble by Russell Wilson. It turned out to be Marshawn Lynch. Either way, ball's on the ground. Heady play by Russell Wilson to recover that. But my whole thing was they needed to stay within arm's reach. They needed to stay within striking distance. Down 17-10, now a full 7 points, a full touchdown. They needed to get something on that next possession. At least flip field position and get into a situation where the defense maybe can come out, have about 90 to 95 yards of field to defend, and maybe force the Seahawks to go 3 and out and give you great field position, but you needed to do something. They come out, have a penalty, are forced deep into their own territory. They don't pick up a first down. It was a sloppy possession, penalty riddled, and they had to punt deep in their own territory, gave the Seahawks great field position. And then I thought the Panthers started to feel the desperation in what they were doing defensively, which I said, look, don't change what you've been doing defensively. That's what's kept you in this game. And they started reaching for the football, trying to strip Luke Wilson. And Mr. Wilson had 2 big grabs on the next offensive possession for Seattle after the punt that gave them great field position. He has a nice catch and run to set up the even better catch and run for 25 yards and a touchdown as they're ripping at the ball. Panthers are getting desperate now. They're looking for the big play. They're looking for the turnover. Just make the tackle. Instead, they're ripping, they're reaching, and all of a sudden, Luke Wilson, Mr. Wilson, breaks away, gets in the end zone. It's now 24-10 at this point. Now, to me, game's over. Game is done. There's no way the Panthers are scoring 24 points. I never saw them reaching 20 in this game. So the fact that they're now down by 14, 24-10 means they're done. They're done in this game. But Cam gives his team one last opportunity by putting together a drive. They're having a very impressive drive to try to keep it interesting. They're moving it down the field. It's a 7-play, 66-yard drive. But on the 8th play of the drive, Cam makes a mistake similar to what he made last week when he makes an errant throw late. Picked off by Cam Chancellor, 90 yards the other way for a touchdown. That's all she wrote, folks. And Zeno, a viewer of mine, posted last week that the score in this game is going to be, I think he said 35-10. And another viewer, berated him. Oh, you don't watch football. You can't watch football with that score, that prediction. And he said, I'll be back when the Seahawks take care of business. And that they did. It wasn't quite 35-10, but damn, 31-10 at one point in the game. And Vegas got it right. And I said that there would be a turnover late to really extend the score out to where they needed it. I didn't think it would ever get this bad where there was a 21-point deficit in the game, but it did with that Cam Chancellor play. They go down the field, do the Panthers, try to make it interesting late again. Calvin Benjamin gets in the end zone again, but too little, too late. Panthers aren't able to get it done as the Seahawks get back to the NFC Championship game once again with a 31-17 victory. Impressive showing by the Seahawks team at home. I didn't think the running game was as impressive as I expected it to be, but they did throw the football. Russell Wilson was very efficient in this game, and he didn't have to do a lot. He did what he needed to do, and he made some great throws. The one to Curse for the touchdown, finding Luke Wilson a couple of times and allowing him to catch it and run. He made some really good throws and decisions in this game. I thought the running game was okay. It wasn't great, but it was enough to get the job done. And they move on to the championship game where they will see the Green Bay Packers, as that game has met its conclusion already today at the time of this video. So you already know who you will be playing in that NFC Championship game. It is a rematch of the very first game of the 2014-2015 NFL season, as these two teams met on the Thursday kickoff special to get the season underway. So that should be interesting. We'll talk a lot more about that down the line. Let's talk about Cam Chancellor for a minute, because he was the star of this game. Not often you will see the bowling ball, Tolbert get hit and go sideways or backwards. He took a shot from Cam Chancellor. And this guy, I'll tell you what, man. When we start talking strong safeties, you find me a better strong safety in the league than Cam Chancellor. Find me a better one. We always talk Dick Sherman. We always talk Earl Thomas. We don't talk Cam Chancellor a lot, and we should. This guy is an animal. And I said this before, you know how near and dear to my heart Sean Taylor is. He's not the athlete that Sean Taylor is, but he's the closest thing I've seen to number 21 in a very long time. Like I said, there'll never be another one of those guys, but damn it if Cam Chancellor isn't the closest we'll ever get to Sean Taylor. Man, that guy can run, he can hit, and if you make a mistake, he'll make you pay for it. We saw with the 90-yard INT to the crib. He was definitely the star of this game. Did you see the couple of plays he made on those field goal attempts? Man, the guy is just uber athletic, and he knows how to use his athleticism and his ability to his strengths. So, Seahawks get it done. Panthers, a little disappointed. I just didn't think they were prepared to win this game mentally. You saw Tolbert with a big drop. Cam is able to escape, the pocket, kind of step up, climb the pocket, manipulate the pocket, finds Tolbert on a situation where it's a second and long situation, third and long situation. If he catches it, he's by Wagner, the linebacker, on the play. So if he catches it, he's going to get a full head of steam. And I just talked about nobody really being able to push him aside or make him go backwards with a hit. He's going to have a full head of steam. He drops the football. I mean, great play by Cam to climb the pocket, find a pinpoint accurate throw, and Tolbert drops the ball. It was that kind of game for the Panthers. Mentally, I don't think they were where they needed to be to go and slay the Giants in this game. So they fall 31-17. Seahawks move on. Panthers go home. That's going to do it for the NFC Divisional Round matchup on Saturday between the Carolina Panthers and the Seattle Seahawks. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab. We'll come back and join me as I continue to break down the Divisional Round of the postseason in the National Football League. See you in a bit. We got a lot more football to discuss.